The cream-colored wedding invitation sat on my kitchen counter like an elegant insult. Bold foil lettering announced the union of Madison Elizabeth Collins and James Harrison Sterling II at the Plaza Hotel. My sister's dream wedding to a man she called the perfect catch, a rising star at one of the country's largest investment firms. I, Emma Wilson, wasn't supposed to be just a guest. I was meant to be the maid of honor. At least that was the plan until yesterday. "Emma, we need to talk about your appearance at the wedding," Madison had said over lunch at her favorite overpriced bistro. She picked at her salad, not quite meeting my eyes. I glanced down at my outfit, simple black slacks and a navy blazer. Professional, understated, comfortable. What about it? Well, she sighed dramatically. James's family is very particular about these things. His mother is on the board of the Metropolitan Museum. His sister was just featured in Vogue. We need everything to be perfect. I knew where this was heading. Madison had always been embarrassed by my preference for simplicity. While she chased designer labels and social status, I focused on building something meaningful, even if nobody knew about it. "The bridesmaids' dresses are very warm," she continued, "and everyone will be wearing Louboutins. Your usual choices. They just won't fit in." "Madison, I can buy a new dress. It's not just the dress." She burst out, her perfect makeup creasing with frustration. "It's everything. Your sensible shoes, your plain jewelry, that ancient car you insist on driving. You look like a small-town librarian, not a Collins." I touched the simple pearl necklace at my throat, our grandmother's last gift to me. "I like how I dress." "That's the problem." Madison threw her hands up. "You don't care about appearances at all. Do you know how it looks when people ask what my sister does, and I have to tell them you work at some tiny financial advisory firm?" I bit back a smile. My tiny firm was actually Wilson Global Investments, one of the most powerful private equity companies in the world. But Madison didn't know that. Nobody in my family did. "I saw the guest list," I said quietly. "James's boss is coming. Edward Sterling from Sterling Corp." Madison beamed. "Yes, Edward is James' uncle. The whole Sterling family will be there. That's why everything has to be perfect. Their connections could change our lives." If only she knew. Edward Sterling was actually my newest board member. I'd acquired his company 6 months ago in a friendly takeover, though the press still hadn't discovered who was behind the deal. "Madison, I tried one more time. I promise I won't embarrass you." She reached across the table, patting my hand with practiced condescension. "Oh, sweetie, you can't help it. You are who you are. That's why." She took a deep breath. "I think it's better if you don't come to the wedding." The bistro's ambient noise faded to a dull hum. "You're uninviting me from your wedding." "Don't be dramatic. I'm just trying to protect the family's image. James is going places, Emma. This wedding could open so many doors for all of us. I can't risk anything going wrong." I stared at my sister, this person who shared my blood but had somehow become a stranger, all because of how I dress. "It's not just that," she insisted. "It's what you represent. Everyone else has made something of themselves. Look at me, I'm marrying into the Sterling family. Even Mom and Dad have their country club status. But you," she shook her head, "you're just so ordinary." The irony almost made me laugh. That morning, I closed a $2 billion deal from my phone while getting coffee. My net worth was higher than the entire Sterling family combined. But to Madison, I was an embarrassment because I didn't flaunt it. "I see," I said, standing up. "Well, I wouldn't want to tarnish your perfect day." "Don't be like that," Madison pouted. "You can still send a gift. Something nice. You must have some savings, right?" I left without answering, my mind already turning over possibilities. For years, I kept my success private, building my empire in peaceful anonymity. But maybe it was time for a change. Back in my penthouse office, the one my family thought was a small financial advisory firm, I picked up my phone. "Sarah, connect me with James Sterling, please." My assistant's voice was professional, but I could hear her smile. "James Sterling II or Senior?" "Junior. And Sarah? Don't announce me, just put me through as a potential client." A moment later, James's eager voice filled the line. "James Sterling speaking. How can I help you today?" "Mr. Sterling, I'm calling about a rather significant investment opportunity. My firm is considering a substantial position in Morgan Stanley's new tech fund. Excellent. I could practically hear him sitting up straighter. May I ask which firm you're with? Wilson Global. There was a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. Wilson. Global? As in, Chairman Wilson's firm. The same. I had no idea they were considering. I mean, we'd be honored to. Would it be possible to set up a meeting? With the chairman? I smiled, thinking of Madison's dismissive words. Actually, I'd like to discuss this in person. Are you free tomorrow morning? The chairman will be in your office at 10 a.m. James stammered his agreement, probably already imagining the commissions from such a massive account. If he only knew he was talking to his future sister-in-law. After hanging up, I walked to my private dressing room, the size of Madison's entire apartment, and surveyed my collection of designer suits. For years, I'd saved these for overseas business meetings, preferring simpler clothes in my daily life. Sarah, I called out, cancel my morning meetings tomorrow, and send me the latest report on Sterling Corp's Asia expansion. I think it's time for Chairman Wilson to make a formal appearance. That night, as I stood in my penthouse overlooking the city, I thought about choices. Madison had chosen appearances over substance, status over sincerity. I'd chosen to build something real, something that would last beyond trending fashions and social climbing. Tomorrow, both our choices would collide in a way she never saw coming. And her perfect wedding? Well, that was about to become a lot more interesting. The next morning, I stood in my private dressing room, transforming myself from Emma, the embarrassing sister, into Chairman Wilson, one of the most powerful figures in global finance. The Armani suit, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes, cost more than Madison's entire wedding dress. Louboutin heels, a Cartier watch, and grandmother's pearls completed the ensemble. The car is ready, Ms. Wilson, Sarah announced from the doorway, and Mr. Sterling has already called twice to confirm the meeting. I smiled at my reflection. How's his anxiety level? Through the roof. Apparently, he's had the office redecorated overnight and ordered in fresh flowers. His assistant says he hasn't slept. And my sister called him 4 times this morning. She's upset he's postponing their wedding venue tour for an anonymous client meeting. Perfect. The drive to Sterling Investment Group's offices took exactly 23 minutes. My driver, Thomas, pulled up to the curb precisely at 9:57 a.m. As I stepped out, I noticed the entire executive team waiting in the lobby, James standing front and center, practically vibrating with nervous energy. Chairman Wilson, he rushed forward, then stopped short, his face draining of color as recognition hit him. Emma? But, you? What? Good morning, Mr. Sterling, I said calmly, enjoying the way his eyes darted between my face and my obviously expensive attire. Shall we discuss that investment opportunity? Behind him, I could see his Uncle Edward trying and failing to hide his amusement. He kept my identity secret when I acquired Sterling Corp, understanding my desire for privacy. But you're Madison's sister, James stammered, the one who works at a small advisory firm. A common misconception, I replied, walking past him toward the elevator, one that I've never bothered to correct. Now about Morgan Stanley's tech fund. The next hour was almost comedic. James alternated between trying to maintain his professional demeanor and casting terrified glances at me, probably remembering every condescending comment he'd made about my simple lifestyle at family dinners. These projections, I said, pointing to his carefully prepared presentation, they're optimistic. Yes. Well, he tugged at his collar. We believe the Asian market shows signs of volatility that your models don't account for, I finished. Perhaps we should discuss the real reason I'm here. James swallowed hard. The real reason? The wedding. He sank into his chair. Madison doesn't know, does she? About who you really are? No, she doesn't. Just like she doesn't know that your family's company now works for me, or that your Uncle Edward reports to my board. Oh God, he whispered. Back in my office, I stared at the wedding invitation again. My phone had been buzzing nonstop, messages from Madison, James, even our parents, who had presumably heard the news. Sarah, I called out, what's my schedule like next month around the wedding date? You have that conference in Milan, she replied. The one where they're announcing you as Businesswoman of the Year. Perfect, said Madison a note. Tell her I won't be able to attend because I have a prior commitment. Add that I've made a donation to her favorite charity in lieu of a gift. How much? I thought about all the times Madison had made me feel small, all the years of condescension and judgment. $10 million. Anonymously, of course. Let her spend the rest of her life wondering if every major donation comes from her embarrassing sister. That evening, I changed back into my usual simple clothes and drove my unfashionable Tesla to my favorite small restaurant. The owner, Maria, greeted me warmly, not caring what I wore or who I was. My phone buzzed again, Madison calling for the 20th time. I sent it to voicemail and ordered my usual pasta. Bad day? Maria asked, noticing my distraction. Interesting one, I replied. Sometimes people forget that true value isn't about designer labels or social status. Sometimes it's about being exactly who you are, even when others can't see your worth. Wise words, she smiled. More wine? Yesterday, I continued, my sister uninvited me from her wedding because I wasn't sophisticated enough for the Sterling family, because my presence might embarrass her in front of her new social circle. Emma, I had no idea she. Of course you did. I cut him off. You were there last Christmas when she mocked my car. You laughed when she called my clothes clearance rack chic. You even joined in, suggesting I should invest in my appearance if I wanted to be taken seriously. The blood drained from his face. I didn't mean. The interesting thing about appearance, I said, standing up, is how deceiving it can be. For instance, I appear to be sitting here considering an investment in your fund. In reality, I'm deciding whether to accelerate the restructuring of Sterling Corp's Asian division. Restructuring. Currently scheduled for next quarter. Though as chairman, I could move it up. Perhaps even announce it before, say, a certain high-profile wedding. Just then, the door burst open. Madison stormed in, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. James, what is going on? I've been trying to reach you all morning. We have appointments, she froze, seeing me. Emma? What are you doing here? And what are you wearing? I turned slowly, enjoying the way her eyes widened as she took in my transformation. Hello, Madison. James and I were just discussing business. Business? She looked between us, confusion evident. What business could you possibly have with James? Actually, James's voice cracked. Emma is. Chairman Wilson, Edward Sterling said from the doorway, making everyone jump. The board is ready for you. Shall we discuss the Asia strategy? Madison's perfectly glossed lips fell open. Chairman Wilson? Yes, I smiled. Though you might know me better as your embarrassing little sister. But that's impossible, she sputtered. You work at that tiny firm. Wilson Global Investments, I corrected her. Founded by me 8 years ago. Current market value, $43 billion. Though the press still hasn't figured out who Chairman Wilson really is, I prefer to let my work speak for itself. Madison sank into the nearest chair, her designer dress wrinkling. All this time, I've built something real while you chased appearances. And now you've uninvited me from your wedding because I'm not good enough for the Sterling family. I turned to James. Though technically, the Sterling family works for me. Emma. Madison's voice wavered. I didn't know. Clearly, you were too busy judging the cover to read the book. I gathered my papers, tucking them into my Hermes briefcase, another item I usually kept hidden. James, have your team revise those projections. I want to see real numbers, not just what you think will impress the board. Yes, Chairman, he mumbled. And Madison? I paused at the door. About the wedding. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you by attending, but you might want to rethink the venue. I just bought the Plaza Hotel this morning. Apparently, they're closing for renovations next month. Such unfortunate timing. I left them there, Madison's soft crying following me down the hall. Edward fell into step beside me. That was rather theatrical, he observed. Sometimes a lesson needs to be dramatic to be learned. And the plaza? Did you really buy it? I smiled. No, but they think I did, and sometimes appearance is everything. Isn't that what my sister always says? Back in my office, I stared at the wedding invitation again. My phone had been buzzing nonstop. Messages from Madison, James, even our parents, who had presumably heard the news. Sarah. I called out, what's my schedule like next month around the wedding date? You have that conference in Milan, she replied. The one where they're announcing you as Businesswoman of the Year. Perfect. Send Madison a note. Tell her I won't be able to attend because I have a prior commitment. Add that I've made a donation to her favorite charity in lieu of a gift. How much? I thought about all the times Madison had made me feel small, all the years of condescension and judgment. $10 million. Anonymously, of course. Let her spend the rest of her life wondering if every major donation comes from her embarrassing sister. That evening, I changed back into my usual simple clothes and drove my unfashionable Tesla to my favorite small restaurant. The owner, Maria, greeted me warmly, not caring what I wore or who I was. My phone buzzed again. Madison calling for the 20th time. I sent it to voicemail and ordered my usual pasta. Bad day? Maria asked, noticing my distraction. Interesting one, I replied. Sometimes people forget that true value isn't about designer labels or social status. Sometimes it's about being exactly who you are, even when others can't see your worth. Wise words, she smiled. More wine? Please. I thought about Madison, probably still reeling from the revelation. About James, desperately revising his projections. About my parents, who would soon discover that their underachieving daughter was actually the business genius they'd always wanted. But mostly, I thought about myself, about the choice I made years ago to build something meaningful rather than chase appearances. Madison's wedding would go on, though perhaps at a different venue. She'd marry into the Sterling family, though with a very different power dynamic than she'd imagined. And me? I'd go back to running my empire, quietly changing the world without needing anyone's approval. Sarah texted me, "Your sister just sent an email. She's officially re-inviting you to the wedding. Says she's sorry and hopes you'll reconsider attending." I typed back, "Send her the Milan conference schedule. And Sarah, book me a suite at the plaza for next week. I think it's time Chairman Wilson made a few more public appearances." Sometimes the best revenge isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were right all along. Madison wanted a perfect wedding. Instead, she got a perfect lesson in judgment and worth. And me, I got something better than revenge. I got to be exactly who I am, without apology or pretense. Sometimes that's the greatest success of all. As I finished my wine, I made a mental note to buy this restaurant, not to change it or make it trendy, but to preserve it exactly as it was. A reminder that true value doesn't always wear designer labels.